Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having a fantastic start to your Tuesday here. Um, I don't know how many of you guys caught recently the big news with AI music is that Red Lobster is, I think, maybe the first commercial chain, the commercial client to use generative AI music in a campaign that they're putting out right now. And also, the reports are that Red Lobster is potentially filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy very soon. So I don't know, if there's any correlation there or connection there or whatever, but I knew this day would hit us some point. I did not think it was going to be 1 year from a year ago. A year ago is when I started to talk about AI and get serious about it, and obviously get curious about it and kind of wrap my head around it. And I obviously kind of freaked out a bit because I was like, well, if a computer can make music quickly, effortlessly, and cheaply, where does that leave us, right? When TV and film clients get their hands on this technology. And here we are, 1 year into it. And Red Lobster, as far as I know, it's, I think, the first one to do it. So I'm actually going to play some of the music here in just a little bit for you guys that want to listen to what it came up with. They're not revealing where or which model they used to generate these tracks. I have to assume that it's either Suno or Udio because the quality is basically rivaling those two services. I haven't heard of any other generative model that can include the vocals, write songs, write kind of catchy melodies like the way that those two can, obviously based on the music that they were probably trained on. So that's my guess as to what's happening there, but obviously we don't really know yet. Hey, what's up, Crystal Clear? Your Red Lobster, how could they do this to me? Yeah. So, it's funny. I have probably been to a Red Lobster once or twice in my life. I can't even honestly remember the last time I did. But yeah, I guess they haven't been doing well, probably from the pandemic, trying to reel back from that. It's probably been hard to get people to go back to restaurants now that we have food delivery services and people have gotten out of the habit of going out to eat as much as they did before we all shut down the economy for a couple of years there. So I don't know how this is going to play out, but it is a sort of reality of this new paradigm that we're in. Regardless of how all these legal issues play out, I am definitely going to be putting my my best effort at trying to understand it, trying to make my best arguments for trying to protect our rights. Some of you guys have been putting some great comments, especially the video I put out yesterday, kind of giving my best case as to why AI models training off of copyrighted music is not fair use, and why I think we should not be treating them just the same way as human beings get treated under the copyright laws. And it's still a very common thing that I get from many of you to say, well, first of all, I want to just say, please watch my videos like all the way through before you comment. I love comments, but it really is kind of annoying to hear feedback and comments from people that if you just watch the video, you would know that I addressed your point. So I feel like I'm kind of duplicating my efforts to try to say, oh, okay, I have to now explain to you what I explained to you already. That's the why I put out that video, was to try to explain my point a little bit more eloquently. So that's what I basically do ask, is please just watch the video all the way through. And then if there's still something you disagree with, you're not understanding, or you think I'm missing, that's when I really want to hear from you, because that's what makes me smarter. And a couple of you guys gave me some great points of feedback to say, well, I disagree, here's why, in 2 points, or 3 points, or whatever it is. Those are my favorite comments. They get my brain going in a really cool direction. They expose me to something maybe I'm not thinking of, or maybe something I haven't considered. And sometimes I have to sit there for a second and go like, wow, that is something that we have to kind of think about. Maybe I don't have an airtight case here, or it's something that helps me strengthen, I think, my position on this. And I don't want to get attached to it as if it's my position, but the arguments that I'm putting out there, it basically helps me either make these arguments stronger, or points out some of their fundamental flaws that go like, oof, this is going to be something that's probably not going to be working in our favor in the long run. So regardless of how things shake out, I really do appreciate your guys' feedback one way or another, agreeing, disagreeing, even just being honest about. Yeah, if some of you, I've even heard a few of you saying like, I don't even know what to think. I don't have a comment. If somebody said they wrote a comment, then deleted it because they're like, I really don't even know if that's what I think. I'm just so overwhelmed right now. I want to hear that too, because I feel that way many times throughout all of this. Just hearing this news that Red Lobster is using AI music in its campaign, to kind of promote its new menu or the items that they're putting out there. I don't know what they're doing. The next year is going to be basically, I can already tell, you guys can probably already tell from what we've already gone through, is it's going to be just noisy and very chaotic in the next couple of years. And it's going to go from one news story to the next. There's going to be something like this: Red Lobster using AI music. Feels kind of depressing, and it feels like a black pill. It feels like there's that future that I was really worried about coming to reality. Boy, what does our future look like if this is what some companies are going through? But in a week or two, we're going to maybe get a positive ruling in our favor. There's going to be some major supervisor or library or some development. In fact, what you guys will hear from me tomorrow is, I think, is a positive development of a lot of major publishers around the world kind of putting up big stop signs and saying, we do not consent to allow AI models to just come in and train off of our music without asking for consent. And so that's going to be a positive move. But then the next week, there's going to be another news story or something happening where it's going to depress us all again. So I'm right now in this mode of going like, okay, I'm not going to survive if, like, from one week to another, I'm excited about the future and then depressed, and then excited and then depressed. That's not going to be good for me. It's not going to be good for any of you guys. And I'm fighting multiple fronts here in terms of, like, I have a horse in this race personally, as I am a composer, I am a producer, I work with sync licensing libraries, and I grade, and I get, royalties and still sync fees. And, I just got pretty much the biggest placement of my career just like literally a month ago. And I want those royalties and I want those placement opportunities to keep coming to me selfishly. I am personally invested in this. And I'm also, a host of a community here online. I'm a host of this YouTube channel. I feel like I have a bit of a leadership role in kind of looking out for all of our collective interests as composers, as producers in the sync licensing marketplace. So I feel like it's negligent of me to not keep my eye on this stuff and at least keep you guys informed the best I can, to say, hey, this is what's happening. Here's the potential threats. Here's the opportunities. Let's sort of make sure that we are not being blindsided by this technology as it comes into our world. And I think if you guys have been following me for the last year, it's still shocking, as much as, we've been kind of knowing, or I've been talking about this moment and this day is going to come where this technology comes out of the, depths of the ocean and surfaces up to our real world. It's really hard to even prepare for that, even if you know it's coming. But at least many of you guys that have been around for a while, like, this is not a shock, right? We kind of knew this technology has been brewing under the surface, and now that it's kind of rearing up, we do need to be taking it seriously. If we haven't already been taking it seriously, this is definitely a time to be taking it seriously and to figuring out how we're going to adjust. So kind of the point of this whole stream, though, is I'm still trying to figure this out. I don't have an answer for how am I going to maintain my sanity in the next couple of years and probably beyond, as this entire landscape shifts, right? It's not just one side of the equation that's changing. It's not just generative AI and text to output models that are going to be disrupting our industry. There's going to be many technologies and new people coming on board. They're going to help supervisors and TV and film clients better find music that already has been created by human beings, and also maybe alter and modify the music that was created by human beings to make it fit better for placement opportunities. So there's going to be like equal and opposing forces here in this industry, and everything is changing. And even though we obviously are pigeonholed, focused on our side of the business, the whole TV and film industry is about to be radically disrupted as well. If you've got text to video models, that completely turns a lot of Hollywood's business model on its head, where you can generate high quality video, especially for B-roll or, other kinds of maybe not so intense, intimate shots with human beings, but like almost everything else in TV, film, commercials, all this kind of stuff, video games even, it really flips everything everywhere, all over the place. So we're not the only ones going like, which way is up now? What does this mean for us? How do we sort all this stuff out? Everybody is thinking about this right now and getting nervous, getting concerned. Parts of us, part of it feels exciting because it's a shakeup, and sometimes shakeups can work out in people's favors and offer new opportunities. But that means that there has to be some ways of doing business it's just going to die. It's just not going to work anymore. It's not going to be relevant anymore. And we don't know how that's going to play out. So, right now I'm kind of, I guess you call it like a thesis, but it's not really a thesis. It's just like a sort of a very simplified philosophy on what am I going to be holding on to for the next year or two, that as the noise, as the chaos, as the developments from one week to the next kind of jump into our world, what's going to keep my head above the water and not get pulled emotionally into all of these different, wormholes, black holes, and pie in the sky dreams of the future, right? I want to keep a level head on me as we move forward. I think that's the only way to really handle all this kind of stuff. And I have an idea, a couple of like thoughts about where that might go, but it's not fully fleshed out. So part of me coming on here today is basically I'm gonna pick your guys' brain. I want to ask you, how are you keeping your head above the water? Do you have a sort of North Star, a flagpole, something that you're, using and holding on to help you stay above the noise, not be, either too depressed or too moved one way or another emotionally? I'm just curious, like where you guys are at with all this kind of stuff. I'd love to know more about that. Let me just read some of your questions here or your comments. Jay Smith said, I made a whole song for a football team that sounds great on Udio, but I understand how things are heating up in the AI space. Sounds great on Udio, but I understand how things. Okay, I don't understand that question that much. Ram is saying, I think prompting will be a new art skill to embrace. Yeah, for sure. Especially in our music creation process, there will probably be some new tools we'll be using to say or prompt what we want to be added to the music that we're creating if we get stuck or something like that, for sure. And you can combine it with traditional production skills, for sure. Yeah, that's definitely coming. Jay is saying, I honestly believe AI music has a space, but there needs to be clarity legally and through regulations. Yeah, that's the big murky water that we're in right now, Jay. We don't know. Are they doing this in a fair use, manner where they don't have to ask for consent, they don't have to compensate? Consent's obviously the first thing, because if you don't have to ask for consent to go train off of music that exists on the internet, then we don't have to worry about compensation. Why are we even talking about compensation if you don't even have to get consent? Consent is always the first thing that we usually have to fight for these kind of battles. And then once that's established, okay, now if you're going to use my music in your data and you haven't paid us and you haven't asked for us to be a part of your revenue share or even a one-time payment because there was no consent, now we've got sort of some standing to maybe fight this battle legally. But that's what we're still waiting for, that law or that court ruling to kind of drop there. So Ram is saying, I'm wondering if we could make money on well-made prompts. A prompt engineer as a job, that's definitely going to be something you can make money on. But as it stands right now, copyright will probably not be granted to AI-generated music, like purely an AI-generated piece of music. Like, I'm wondering, these Red Lobster tracks, which I'll show you guys in just a second here. I don't know if those are going to be able to be copyrighted because they might have been prompted really well, but so far what the courts have been saying is that something that's just merely been prompted in and generated from an AI model is not enough human interaction or human effort to constitute a copyright protection on that. So that's what they've been ruling for visual art, at least. We haven't gotten that specific ruling on music. But, it depends. Like, how much did the Red Lobster people prompt in there? That they put tons and tons of stuff into this generator, their own lyrics, their own content, and how much did they? I don't know. See, that's where we're in this murky water of what's going to be happening where we go there. So I don't know. Can sync licensing companies tell the difference between AI-generated content and real content? I think it's hard to tell the difference. Right now, yes. One example actually just happened recently is we were doing some reviews in one of our services, and a member actually submitted a track that had AI vocals on it. Now, they didn't say that, and we were just listening to it, and both of us that were reviewing it went like, there's something odd about those vocals. They feel AI or whatever. And sure enough, I had a private email with the member afterwards, and he said, yeah, the music I created, but the vocals were AI. And so I said, okay, it's not there yet. Like, it definitely didn't pass our sniff test. And the other person reviewing it was a library owner. So yes, library owners who are dealing with human-made music all day long, they can tell something's weird or wrong. Usually that day will pass at some point, though, where they won't be able to. However, I am putting out a video about that specific sort of best practices for you guys. Don't do that. I'll just, spoiler alert, don't try to get sneaky prompting in music or using AI vocals and things where you didn't tell the library you're using an AI tool. I'm not saying that all AI tools you shouldn't use or that libraries might not be okay with you using them, but not being transparent about what you're doing and how you're using AI technology is not a good idea. You could jeopardize your relationship with production music libraries. So if you're going to try to use them, definitely talk to them first about what you're using, send them a link to it, explain to them clearly what it is and let them tell you, yes, we're comfortable with that, or you know what, there's some legal problems with that. We don't know how this is all going to settle out, and we don't want to gamble with having sort of music that might not be able to be copyrighted in our catalog. So just stay away from that. Chances are right now, most libraries are going to say stay away from that, just to be honest with you, because we're just in this murky water and they don't want to jeopardize their, their business by messing with it. So, generating ideas with AI for sure. Yeah, Jay Smith saying music producer workflows are long, but it is with AI we could use unique prompts to make things quicker and easier with great quality. Yeah, and that's kind of the promise of AI. That's like the other side of it where we can get excited, where it's like, hey, you create my stems, you bounce all of my my stems, create my alt mixes, give me all these different, variations, these alt mixes, 30, 15 second, whatever. And maybe in the future, we won't even have to do that because there will be an AI model plugin on a source audio website from a library, right? And this thing can basically take a 3-minute long track and it can create a very compelling 30-second version of it. You just say, hey, make a 30-second version of it. And it processes it, spits it out, boom. And the client says, it doesn't really work. Give me another one. Variation. That's one of these things where you still get the credit, you still get the sync fee, you still get the placement and the royalties, and the AI is doing all this boring work that we don't really like doing. I mean, sometimes creating 30-second cut downs can be fun, but let's be honest, most of the time, that's not the fun part of our job. Metadata, not the fun part of our job. Creating stems and creating all these deliverables, obviously that's not super fun. So that would be great if we could have some technology like that to enable and help us and get rid of the drudgery of our job. That's the promise that I'm excited about. Crystal Clear is asking, do I anticipate there will be hearing in the Supreme Court? Good chance. I don't know, but for sure I can see, there can be sort of back and forth on all this kind of stuff. So I would imagine something about AI is going to make it to the Supreme Court. I don't know if it'll be a music case, but something about this, because there's so many conflicting opinions on this. And because it's such a radically new technology, that this might need to be something that does require us to rethink copyright law, right? And to update it or to make, certain restrictions or, change things basically. Because when the copyright laws were created, they were obviously made for human beings to create art and grant us some exclusive rights to it. It's kind of amazing. I was just talking about this yesterday that with a friend that, how many of us, like if you're making good money or income with either stock licensing, sync licensing, or you plan to, like that's what you're trying to do, how many of us have a full, complete understanding of the copyright system? I studied it in college and I don't, okay? So if you guys have just heard about copyright law just through casual conversation in your life, I can guarantee you don't, right? Most of us are building our entire livelihoods and production music libraries as well on a legal system we don't fully understand. So thank God, we sometimes want to bash lawyers and judges, and it's not the people we usually are highly respectful of. But thank God we have those people in society that do understand the implications of them, and did have the foresight to create a copyright system for us. Because if you're making royalties right now, if you're working with a library, that whole business of a library is based on the fact that they have exclusive rights with the music that they represent to the TV and film world. That's the copyright system, right? And it's more, I've heard this from many commenters, copyright's just about lyrics and melody. No, this is why we have lawyers and judges and a Supreme Court. It's much more complex than that. It's not black and white like that. There are fair use clauses for what can you do with a piece of copyrighted music online without getting consent. That's why we call it fair use. You don't have to go get consent from the original copyright owner, and you can do things, be inspired by, learn from, train on that music. So the system was created in a time when obviously we were trying to incentivize human creators to be artistic and creative, but not hamper the ability for other people to be inspired by other work. So the copyright system is not probably a perfect system, but it's pretty good. And it's allowed us to monetize our music and claim some exclusive rights over it so that we can have a shot at having careers doing what we love, making music. Hooray for the copyright system. AI comes in and it's doing something similar. It's training off of music. Even if it never downloads the music, it never does anything like that. It just literally learns from what it's listening to, the data that's in a WAV file or an MP3 file. As I made that case in that video yesterday, though, its ability to absorb and output music at an exponential rate versus what human beings are capable of, I don't believe we should be treating them the exact same thing. And I think this also sets up a sort of, I don't want to kind of do the slippery slope argument, but like if we're going to start granting AI algorithms and machines human rights, where does that leave us in the future, right? When machines and robots will not have the limitations that human beings do, right? They can have much more capability for output and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if they're starting to get human rights already, well, boy, that puts us at a pretty dangerous disadvantage in the future. So these are topics that are much bigger than just us and our little sync licensing or stock licensing world. Like these are much bigger philosophical implications for where we're going to go in the future. So I don't have any answers for any of it, but I definitely am interested in it. Partially excited by it, partially freaked out by it. So I'm going to just keep talking about it. That's all I can really do, right? Wody Max saying, I've created a few AI mashups putting in my original lyrics. Okay. I tuned to a producer review channel and I sent in a beat I made and had a rapper AI. The guy thought it was odd, but didn't notice it right away. Yeah, we're probably on that edge right now where like you can submit AI music to somebody and maybe half and half. Half the people will go like, oh, this is really cool. I like this music. And half the people go like, is this AI? Right? So yeah, we've definitely already, maybe 6 months ago, it was obvious. You could hear it. Like it was really, really low quality. You could tell. But yeah, we're getting to that point where it's like, I don't really know. I can't tell. And that's where the big unknown is going to be. People trying to certainly prompt in music that's passable and sounds believable and sending it off to a production music library. I know it's going to happen. Some of you watching this might try to do that. I'm telling you, please don't do that. And not necessarily just because of my, selfish point of view on this, but I think it could jeopardize you. It could jeopardize your relationships if that's revealed that you're putting non-copyrightable music into a library under the assumption that, oh no, I'm making this music and this is something that I'm working on. I think that's one of the fastest way to get yourself blacklisted and have your career kind of destroyed in this business. So I wouldn't do it. I would definitely focus on what you can provide and what you can really do and bring to the table here. So. Jay Smith, you'll make some things in either Udio or Sunio and then transfer to my DAW to put more of a unique spin on it. And that's another concern or question on that is like how much of your own spin do you have to put on it for it to become copyrightable, right? I don't know. And I don't think that's what we've figured out yet. In the visual arts world, you have to really significantly alter what an AI model generated for you to be like, okay, yes. And even then, the only parts that you can copyright are what you adjusted. So let's say you had a picture of a dog, and what you did is you cut out the face of the dog and you basically painted a dog's face on there. All you could copyright in that image would be the face that you painted in. All the rest of it, not copyrightable because you didn't create it. So if you're using Udio or Suno and you've got, drums and guitar and bass and all that kind of stuff, and then you throw in your own lead on it, maybe you could only copyright whatever that lead is doing, and the rest of that music is not copyrightable, and it's still jeopardizing a library or jeopardizing your ability to create, a copyright for that entire piece of music. So could open up some problems. So I'm just saying, we're in the Wild West right now. So if you're using, I made that video a couple days ago saying, be very thoughtful and mindful and hesitant to be throwing AI generated music into the public space or into a place where you feel like you're going to be making money off of it, because that's where we don't know where things are yet. So I'm just trying to, look out for you guys the best that I can. So Wody Max saying, the best thing I've seen is making an original sample to flip for trap and hip hop producers. Yeah, samples, that kind of thing. And BitBoy is AI. If AI saved you half the time, would everyone be happy with half the money? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, BitBoy, if you want to expand on that one. Wody Max saying new artists are coming into the game and sometimes sound similar to other artists. I thought Ariana Grande sounds similar to Mariah Carey in the beginning. Yeah, and that's one thing where we've all agreed that like there's no, artists can't claim a style to say like, oh well, I'm the Mariah Carey, so you can't come in and sound like me or be inspired by me or have a similar singing style. We all agree that nobody owns a style, right? Human beings don't own a style, so I don't think that's at all debated. So yeah, I do think we're talking about something completely different when we're talking about essentially like a superhuman technology, being able to emulate and copy and train off of Mariah Carey, on Ariana Grande, not getting consent, and then flooding the marketplace with sound-alike tracks that could be placed instead of them. I don't know. There may or may not be a case for that sort of devaluing music in the marketplace. I can actually see both sides of it. JMO saying the AI stereo mixes aren't so usable for sync yet. It's when it can deliver stems will be the death blow. Yeah, and that's, I mean, to be honest with you, I think that's by the end of the year that the mixes are going to be higher quality. You're not going to hear those artifacts as much, and it'll probably be able to go, hey, do you want full stems here, right? Right now you can do like basic stems of like drums, bass, keyboard, instruments, that kind of a thing. But yeah, when it gets down to the point where it can be like, hey, we can give you the kick, the snare, the shaker, it can individually separate this track into its individual components. I don't see why we wouldn't be there by the end of the year, for sure. Now, it doesn't mean it's a death blow, but it does mean that it's definitely getting much more capable of doing our job, right? So again, you know, there's a technical aspects of like, can this technology actually do what we do? That's what for sure is coming. Yeah, I've known that for a year now. Since I was making those videos a year ago, I was definitely trying to ring the bell and ring the warning of like, I think this technology will be able to do what we do better, faster, cheaper than we can do it. Doesn't mean though that it's all hope is lost and it's not going to or that it'll just completely replace us. There are going to be these legal considerations, the copyright implications of it, the data training, non-consensual data training. This is where we still really don't know. Will TV and film companies want to use a lot of non-copyrightable music? Some of them don't mind. Red Lobster right now saying they don't really mind, I think. But does that mean that every single TV and film client, whatever, will? I don't think so. In fact, in response to this, I've already been seeing kind of on LinkedIn a lot of supervisors saying, I'm taking a public stand and a commitment that I will never use AI music for any project I'm ever like contracted to do. I will always go to human creator. So, you know, for every one of these, again, every one of these like black pill news articles where we go like, oh my gosh, they're using AI music, you'll see a lot of backlash to that. A lot of people saying, I will never do that, and I'm taking a stand that I'll never get into that kind of thing. So I think, like I said, we're going to be going back and forth for a long time. And so this future is not written yet. I know it can feel really depressing that it's moving. It seems like it's moving in a sort of foregone conclusion. But until it's there yet, at least for myself, like I'm not giving up, and I'm not just going to accept like, it's all over and why even try? I don't know that yet. We really actually honestly don't know. That's part of why I want to start to create, you know, my sort of, you know, North Star philosophy of what I'm going to do to get myself through this really challenging, disruptive time that we're in right now. I think we all probably should be thinking about that as well. Thoughts on blockchain technology and how it could help the music industry? I'm hearing it could help be better transparency as well as possibility to have a better system for track royalties. Yeah, that's one of those, you know, the promise of blockchain technology has been around since blockchain technology has been around, you know, and NFTs. We're maybe going to be a sort of us going into that direction of like, hey, maybe we can have more transparent payouts for creators and all that kind of stuff. It's one of those things where like I've been hearing about it for so many years and nothing's really coming to fruition. But you know, I do actually have a friend who's personally involved in a startup right now trying to get that off the ground. So I'm not writing it off. I'm not thinking it's not going to potentially become a future technology like the Web3 decentralized blockchain based economy that can definitely be built. I just don't know. You know, it's one of these things where we assume often we overestimate how quickly new technologies are going to be introduced into our world. And, you know, let's keep that in mind for AI as well. AI has been the only topic of conversation for the better part of a year or 2 years. But other than ChatGPT, and I've been using some AI vocal transformers just for some of the music that I've been writing personally. You know, other than like thinking about AI a lot, you know, the tools the infrastructure is not there yet, right? It has not been just sort of flooded the marketplace with people using AI technology in every facet of their lives. We have probably a couple of applications that we've been using here or there, most of you guys, right? But we're not doing it every single day. It's not reinventing how we're doing our job. It's basically, it's on the peripheral, kind of creeping into our lives in these little use cases. So how long is it going to be before, you know, everybody is using some form of this new technology? I don't know. I was one of those ones mistakenly believing that VR, like at this point, I thought I'd be wearing a VR headset talking to you guys in a virtual space. I didn't think we'd still be doing this at all. I was like, I think by 2020, I anticipated like everybody's going to have a VR headset. Phones will be dead, and that'll be the new norm. Everybody will be talking through these virtual headsets, and we're not there. I don't think we're slowly, Apple's now getting into the space, and like, Meta's headsets are getting a little bit more popular, but it's not taking off, right? It's not turning into this thing that I definitely mistakenly assumed it would be. Another 10 years, maybe. Like at this point, I'm just being, you get older, you get a little bit wiser because you make a lot of wrong assumptions and a lot wrong predictions. So I'm trying to be humble about all this kind of stuff and not getting ahead of myself to think that the entire world is going to be, completely different in a year or two. We're seeing change for sure, and that's going to be constant. We're going to consistently see change, but there's definitely a hype cycle right now. You guys can all feel it. Venture capital, people investing in AI companies, tech companies themselves. Here's a perfect example. Up until ChatGPT and the AI cycle was kind of really, really big. How many times was Apple, the company, talking about AI in their presentations and their products and anything? Never, right? Never was even a consideration. They weren't talking about it. Whatever they were talking about, it was not AI. AI became a conversation, and they had that one presentation. It was probably in 2023 or something like that, where they never used the word AI. They didn't want to put artificial intelligence in their presentation because that, for whatever reason, maybe they thought there was a negative association with it. People were fearful of it, but they wanted to be a part of the conversation, so they kept on saying ML, machine learning, right? So like, we have these amazing blah, blah, blah. It's machine learning and this and that, whatever. And then you fast forwarded to today, and now suddenly Apple is making the best AI laptops that have ever been created. So they're just forgetting about machine learning. They're just going to start saying AI, and now suddenly they're making AI products. What? When they launched some of these products, they didn't use the word AI. Now suddenly they're saying, hey, yeah, the laptops we've been selling for the last couple of years is the best AI product you can possibly have at your home. What happened there? What's going on? Like, why are they suddenly now an AI company? Because companies right now really do care about their valuation. And if you're the one tech company not using the word AI and not talking about your products in the context of AI technology, people will go, and people have been accusing this of Apple lately, going, man, you guys are far behind. How come you haven't updated Siri? You haven't done this? So they've caved to the pressure in many ways to say, oh, no, we're an AI company. In fact, we've always been an AI company. These laptops we've been selling for multiple years with our chips are well equipped for AI. So to me, this means that we are in a hype cycle, that people are just attaching themselves to AI or machine learning because they know that's where, people are going to be excited about buying their stock, and investors, and right, pumping up the valuation of companies. We're in a big hype cycle right now. And just like with the dot-com era, there's going to be a bust. We all know it's going to be coming. And a lot of the promise of the future and all these, oh my gosh, we're headed to the stars with the technology, there's going to be a crash, right? And it's going to be this kind of settling down of like going, okay, we thought we were like at 2045 already. We're not there. We're here. And yes, there's some use to this technology, but it is probably obviously overhyped and overblown. The fears and the excitement of the future, where we're going to be in a couple of years, is not playing out. We're now finally feeling seeing the limitations of this technology, and there will be a crash. This is how every new technology, you guys can follow us. I don't know what the curve is. Maybe some of you guys know where this curve is going. But there's a hype cycle, and then there's a crash. There's a little bit of a lull period, and then the real players show the true value to the marketplace, and they slowly rise in the future. Cell phones were like this. The internet was like this. Every new technology phase that we go through, it goes through this. We're in the hype cycle. We're probably nearing the end of it. And you're going to see a lot of, companies going bankrupt and false promises. And, oh my gosh, what were we doing? Why were we throwing so much money at all these companies that had no business models? Because right now people aren't necessarily worried about profits or sustainability with business models. They're just thinking about what's the new thing. People just wanting to throw money at something brand new. So there's a lot of hype right now. So just be aware of that as we move forward in the next couple of years. This other producer worked with Schoolboy Q, and others said something of the line of, now average producers with this type of beat channels with mid-level beats are the ones in trouble. Yeah, and I made the same prediction about a year ago. I anticipated that stock licensing, if you're making sort of average, below average, loop-based music that's not really compelling, yeah, you're kind of the first on the chopping block, because generative models would be able to do that, and much faster, much cheaper than you can do it. JMO, if the quality gets so good that it's indistinguishable from human created, why not use AI music that sounds just as good and can't tell the difference? That's the whole point of me making all these videos, JMO. That's it. That's the big concern right there. Where our industry and sync licensing, our audiences don't really notice or care if the music was created by a human being, right? Most background music, it's almost inaudible, almost. And if it is audible, as long as it's providing the emotional tone that needs to help set the scene, do audiences who love that show care that the music was created by me or you or a real human being with a pulse, or it was created with an AI? No, they're really not going to care. That's our weakness. That is our Achilles heel. That's what makes us potentially obsolete and replaceable in our industry. So I'm keeping it real with you guys. That's the big concern right there. There are other things that can work in our favor, but that's on the black pill negative side. That's something we got to be kind of honest and real about. What's going to happen to all the music software library companies like Native Instruments, Spitfire Audio, Score, etc. if AI can generate music out of thin air without needing sample libraries? Let me check my future prediction app. I actually just downloaded that. Let's see. You wanted to know about the future of software library companies like Native Instruments. Okay. Probably could put in their name too. Okay. Okay, sorry. Just being a little bit facetious there. Obviously, I don't know, guys. I have no clue. These companies can stay relevant if they adopt some of these technologies. What I've always wanted, and I think would be really cool, is if I could have an AI, let's see, I guess you would call it, it'd be a VST, like an AI VST, where I could just say or type in or describe something and say, I want a horn stab that has the grit of a guitar, a distorted guitar. Make that. Okay, and then it creates it for me on the fly. Cool. Can you make it a little bit more punchy on the front end and have the tail last another 2 seconds? Done. New sample. That to me, if these companies can get into that technology, they probably got a future. If they drag their feet and don't want to start adopt this new ability for us to create samples on the fly with AI, then yeah, they're going to face some stiff competition, because I can tell you the one company that can create that app that I just described, basically text to instrument, any instrument you want, and you can describe it, and also, and most importantly, edit it. That's the most important thing, that it can pump something out and you can say something else and have it do a revision, or say, yeah, I like that, but add this and add this. Can you add this flavor? Can you put a little hint of a human voice in there, kind of like echoing into the background? The company that can pull that off and make a useful VST for us, that's going to be a game changer for all these other companies that are creating VSTs and sample libraries. So somebody's working on it. I guarantee you. I'm not the first person to think of that. Other people are thinking about it. But if they're going to have a future, they're going to have to contend with that ability, because that's definitely coming, which is exciting. Like, that's the part of this that I get excited about, because how many times do we all get stuck in some creative process where it's like, it's like this sample is close, but it's not quite it. And then you can't find the right one. And then you kind of lose your mojo, right? You lose your creativity. So, JMO saying maybe Suno becomes a new music library and their income model becomes earning royalties for their AI syncs. Possibly. Yep. That could possibly be it. I have some obviously best case scenarios for the future of us creating music, but also having AI technologies to help, generate variations on our tracks. But still getting the credit and the income to the human beings that helped train that model. What's up, Mirror? Good to see you. Yele, hey, man. Where are the flying cars? They're actually coming, DJ. I don't know if you've looked. They're not here, but there are companies and airlines are investing in companies that are making basically flying taxis. They're not, I wouldn't call them flying cars, but they're basically like a huge drone that takes off like a helicopter. The propellers shift and it starts moving forward. It can propel forward. So that's coming. 5 years, 10 years, I don't know, but they're on their way. They're just taking their time. He's writing for, Yelly wants his clone T-Rex. Yeah, I know, man. For now, Apple Vision Pro probably got a decent looking one in there. But other than that, we're going to have to wait quite a while for that one. JMO saying music supervisors might prefer AI so they can utilize infinite revisions for the project. Yeah. I could see them doing that. Like I said, that's that situation where human created music used with AI to generate all these variations and different versions of it, but still crediting, even paying for that AI technology, paying it a one-time fee. Thank you for helping adjust my music, but crediting the human being that basically created the music. That's the future that I really am fighting for, that I really could be excited about, because it could basically help us, enable us to become more profitable and have more opportunities and more creative in really cool ways. But when the AI is doing our job, using our music to get itself smarter at making the music and not asking for consent and not paying us and including us on this really fun ride, that's one of those things where it's like, it just feels like we're being stolen from, right? And that's, I know that's not a legal argument. How you feel is kind of irrelevant to a court. So this is the kind of circle I'm trying to square, is like, it feels like data theft. It feels like they're stealing from our hard work and our talent and our dedication to our craft, and not saying thank you, right? And a thank you means asking for permission and giving us income and including us on this really cool, exciting ride that they're putting us on. So that's just how it feels. I'm sure you guys are maybe feeling that in some way or another. So what that makes no bearance on the court cases and the laws and all this kind of stuff. But that's definitely how it feels, just from this side of it, right? And I think you guys can probably emulate or resonate with that in some way. Michael saying he confirmed with one of the libraries he worked with that they are accepting AI-generated music. So, Michael, what I would say, and ask them for specifics on that, meaning they're taking music from Suno, from Udio, like literally you just prompt it in and it's a full track. They're taking that, or are they saying if you use something that generated a chord progression, or something that, like, let's say you needed female vocals for your track, you sang it and then you converted it and turned it into female vocals? They're cool with that. Like, I would ask them for clarification on exactly what they're accepting, what they're okay with, because I'm not sure if they're aware that AI music probably will not be able to be copyrighted. So that's something they should be aware of. And by the way, just so you guys know, tomorrow's video, I need you all watching this, all 27 of you guys. If you work with the library, send tomorrow's video to your library owners, and you'll watch it, you'll get an understanding of it, and you'll see exactly why. There is something coming out, and the PMA, Production Music Association, has been backing it, along with all the major publishers in the world, which is essentially like a public stop sign to all AI companies that think that they can just go train off of any publicly available music that they can get their hands on. This is going to not necessarily stop them from being able to do that. Of course, technologically wise and physically, they can actually still do it. But it's going to hopefully create a sort of a way for us to defend our rights more accurately or helpfully. Helpfully? I don't know. Or it's going to help us basically defend our rights in future court cases, if and when, probably when they arise. So definitely tomorrow, I need you guys to help me spread the word on this and get this to your library CEOs. And I'm kind of going on a personal mission, sort of privately behind the scenes, to try to educate as many library CEOs that I have personal relationships with, that I've interacted with, to get them up to speed on where we are with things and what I'm calling like best practices, which is basically, if you're going to accept any deals with any AI company that wants to come and, consensually train off your catalog, talk to your library composers and producers first. Get their permission, get their feedback on it. Do not, even though if you legally can, with your agreements, do anything you want to with the catalog, it's always best practice to get consent from the composers and producers that have been submitting to you. Or if you don't, you could be jeopardizing your relationship. So I'm trying to give them a sort of, just a wake-up call. This can ruin relationships, because you guys saw what happened with those royalty-free websites last year. Pond 5 just accepting data training, not asking their, submitting composers and producers if they're cool with it. Later saying, by the way, it's already been trained. Here's your money. And if you don't want to have this happen anymore, you can opt out now. That left a real sour taste in a lot of the composers, and I'm sure had a lot of people no longer contributing to that company anymore. So giving people a chance to opt out, getting consent, is always a good idea. And there's going to be some opportunities where it's going to be an added value to the bottom line of the library owner, of your guys' bottom lines. There's going to be some opportunities that are going to be positive. It's not all bad news. Again, I'm not anti-AI, but I'm saying we got to be very thoughtful and careful and open with our communication with each other. So I am going on a personal, private mission. I don't know if I'm going to be releasing a lot of this stuff on public, but I'm sending out emails essentially to people that I know, library owners, and saying, hey, I want to help. I want to be of use. I want to help get us all up to speed on this kind of stuff. Reach out if you need any insights, advice, guidance, whatever. My 2 cents on it, for whatever it's worth. I'm available to you guys. So I got a horse in this race. I'm a library composer. I'm trying to look out for all of our interests the best that I possibly can. I think I'm really far behind now. Let's see. JMO saying, once Logic integrates AI generation, might change the paradigm of composing altogether with a timeline and grid no longer needed. Yeah, yeah. And once DAW start to integrate this technology, yeah, all bets are off in terms of what the future is going to look like for music creators. That'll be really interesting. Um, sorry, one second. Um, yeah, they say, anyone seen that new Boston Dynamic robot? Live performances will probably be next. Yeah, I did see that one. It had like the circular face with the um, lights coming through it. I did see that one. So, and I would so hire a robot vocalist, so that means helping unloading the van. There you go. Well, hey, that would be a great addition to your band, right? You got a robot roadie that doesn't take any breaks, doesn't get sick, doesn't have sore muscles. It just got to charge its battery, right? Make sure it's got a full battery, and it'll help you out. Boy, as a drummer, would I have used that? Oh my gosh. And Michael's saying that the libraries you talked to specifically that they spoke with their lawyers about using Suno and Udo generated music, and they said that was okay. Michael, that the lawyer said yes, you can accept music from these two and license it, and you're not going to be in any potential legal problems by doing that. I'd be very curious if that's who their lawyer is, and I don't know. Not saying they're wrong, but boy, it's a gamble to me. It sounds like a really really big gamble. Um, Hey, Ninian, just joined, but I think right now most libraries stay away from AI music because the whole legal aspect with where those AI models get their data from isn't clear. That yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. It's very risky. Even aside from that, let's say that they do rule like no, they can absolutely train off of it. They don't have to get consent, even if they scraped all of Spotify. Let's assume worst case scenario. That's where the courts go, and we're kind of just screwed. Like they can just train off our music and production music, whatever. I still believe that so far the courts have been leaning in this direction of no copyright can be assigned to AI generated output. So a library's business depends on the copyright system, as we talked about earlier in the stream. So you take away their ability to have exclusive rights over music, then they just have essentially public domain music that they're trying to shop out to a TV and film company, and that's kind of worthless. There's nothing unique or interesting or special about the music that they're going to be shopping to this industry. So it certainly is a move to, I would argue, devalue your value to the marketplace, right? Um, the gray area is so vast. I think this is another Netflix blockbuster situation. Yeah, in a way, for sure. We're definitely going through a new paradigm, and I've tried to be clear on that. And some of you, I think most of you guys are understanding my point of view on it, but some aren't. Where if some the pushback I'll get from sometimes is like, dude, you just need to get with the program. This is just new technology. You're trying to fight an inevitable glacier that's just going to mow you over. You basically just like accept it and move on and get curious and learn how to use this technology. And it's like, I don't think you've been watching my channel for a while, and you're probably not watching the full videos. I'm not anti-technology. I'm not anti-AI. And in fact, I've been the one about a year ago saying, guys, let's be open and curious about it. Remember, I was just banging that drum. Let's be open. Let's be curious. Let's dip one of our little pinky toes into the water of AI and learn what these new tools can do, what they could potentially offer us in the future. And I'm still there now. I still think there's some amazing opportunities for us to use this technology to better ourselves. However, accepting and being curious and evolving with the technology does not mean that we just roll over and say, all right, take all of our rights, just take all of our music, whatever. Why am I fighting? That's where this false dichotomy, I just don't buy it. Like, you can be pro technology and stand up for your rights. You can do both things, right? So you think about like the difference, I would say, back when Napster was threatening all of recorded music and sales and all that kind of stuff. The labels back then, all they knew was we just got to sue people. They had a hammer, and their hammer was lawsuits. So they were trying to shut down, LimeWire and Napster, and they succeeded to a certain extent. They were suing users, people that were actually uploading the music, trying to basically play a game of whack-a-mole. To a certain extent, they slowed it down. But what they should have done, maybe alongside of trying to protect their rights, is offer a better alternative. Right? That's what they didn't do. They weren't seeing MP3 and file sharing technology as inevitable, a technology that's going to come. And instead of just constantly trying to stop it and play whack-a-mole, they should have said, hey, here is a safe place and an affordable place for everybody to come buy music online digitally and compensate the artists and the labels and the publishers that help make that possible. They didn't provide that, and guess who did? Apple. Apple finally, years later, created iTunes and the Apple Store, Music Store, whatever they called it back in the day. And it was Steve Jobs. He said, "All right, 99 cents a track, 9.99 for an album. You're cutting off. You're going to be getting. We're charging less than what you were buying for a physical album, but you're also getting less because you're not getting the physical. It obviously costs almost nothing to distribute, basically nothing to distribute digital files. So the fact that there was still an ability for musicians and artists to move forward now in this new paradigm, giving everybody a safe place to get, the files that they actually want instead of viruses or porn or something else that you're like, hey, I thought I was downloading this album. Turns out it had nothing to do with that album. So giving people a safer alternative and charging a premium for that safer, more dependable alternative and easier to use, right? That's where the labels drop the ball. So I'm hoping this time we learn from that lesson to say, stand up for your rights, put up legal battles where you can, fight for your rights, right? But at the same time, don't bury your head in the sand and think that like AI is going away. It's not. It's going to be here as a part of us. So let's be the solution creators here, right? Let's figure out how do we use these AI tools to help enhance us and to enhance our creativity, enhance our productivity, enhance our ability to serve our TV and film clients, offload some of the drudgery of this job that we don't love doing. That's my point of view, is you can stand up for your rights and say, hey, just taking all of our data and training off of it is not cool. We're going to put up a fight against that. And I can be curious and open to the technology to say, I want to find useful, awesome, amazing ways to move forward with this technology and not try to sue it out of existence, because I know that's not the solution. It's never going to work. So hopefully that's clear at this point. Some of you guys that are still, giving me this feedback after quite a few videos, I'm like, I gotta just keep being very, very clear about it. That's where I'm at. So if that's not clear or whatever, let me know. I'd like to make sure maybe I'm not communicating something, but I feel like that's pretty clear. J-Mo's asking, do I think sync opportunities will die out eventually if AI video is a threat to Hollywood? I have no idea. Because I can see things evolving and changing and shifting, where it's like we're on this, like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, imagine we're on a plane, right? And we're all kind of like standing on this plane, and every square inch of this plane is moving right now. Some are going up, some are going. So it's not like just generative AI music is moving, and so the rest of the industry stays static, and then they all have to adjust to us. They're shifting and changing as well now too. So text to video models are going to shift how they make their video content alongside of now computers making music. So all of these changes are probably, my best prediction is going to be there's going to be new industries birthed because now new tools are available to more people that weren't available before. In the same way that like stock licensing was a new thing that emerged because now new tools were available for content creators online to create podcasts and videos and YouTube channels. So this new marketplace was like, hey, you guys need some music? We'll start creating some music that's cheaper, easier to access, easy to license, all that kind of stuff. So new industries and new opportunities kind of get birthed. So that's my optimism for the future, that as new tools get created, new opportunities arise for people to serve each other and find new niches to kind of help each other out, provide each other with creative output and stuff. So where does that leave anybody in the next couple of years? I have no clue, no idea, like, because everything's dynamically moving right now. So just got to hold on for now and just kind of keep our eyes out for what's happening and do our best to not give into the depressing black pill thoughts that do come out from time to time. Lunar, let's see. Oh, okay, well, Michael had an update. It does seem risky right now, so I'm not going to submit 100% AI generated music. But see, that's the whole thing. Like, if the library you're working with is cool with 100% AI generated music, why don't you just tell them to go prompt in their own catalog? Like, they can do that right now today. Like, forget all of you guys, not pay you guys ever. No royalties. They could claim the ownership of all the music. This is why it's not really making sense to me. Why would they need you to go prompt into AI music? They can do that, right? Or they could hire some kid, basically, who's great at prompting in one of these things and say, hey, all day long, just prompt us, thousands and thousands of tracks. It's something about that. I don't know. I'm not really clear on what they're thinking there. That's a head scratcher for sure. Lunar is saying, do you think the job threat for sync is the same as for artist projects? Artist projects, I guess you're talking about just kind of working with, an artist that has music online, that kind of a thing. No, because I do think these are going to be in kind of two different categories. Sync is music, not across the board, but a lot of the background instrumental stuff that we do, even with vocals, is not creating this human to human connection with the audience, but artist projects generally do, right? An artist, why does any particular hip hop artist, rock artist, pop artist, vocalist, singer, songwriter, why do they get popular? Like, what are they doing that's really working? Well, they're connecting with an audience. They're connecting with people. So if there's a human to human connection there, people are going to want to continue that human to human connection. There might be AI tools that are used in the creation of some of that music or some of that artwork or music videos, that kind of thing. But at the core of it, there's probably got to be a human being that people can feel is really there that they can connect with. Sync audiences aren't necessarily for every placement. Theme placements, maybe. Featured placements, maybe. Popular songs that people recognize, for sure. Those are those things that we do have kind of like personal relationships with the music we're hearing. So. LA saying the credo I live by is thinking solutions, not problems. That's great. That's awesome. Doing nothing won't solve nothing. That's true. Better we help make the rules than being subjected by the mercy of those companies. Yes, absolutely. And that's one of these, points that Jen from Audio Socket was kind of putting out, was saying we need to be a part of shaping the narrative this time around, as opposed to last time where we just allowed tech companies to create iTunes and they dictated. It was Steve Jobs essentially that decided it was 99 cents a track. That wasn't the labels. That was somebody coming to the table and going like, I'm going to create the solution, and here's what I feel is fair. Here's what works for us. And basically essentially take it or leave it. So if we don't want to be dictated by the tech companies how our future is going to look and what business models they think is equitable, then we've got to be at the table shifting the narrative and making our voices heard in little and big ways, right? None of us, not me, not any of you guys, are single-handedly going to make the difference for all of this. I'm not delusional, okay? This is bigger than all of us, okay? But we can definitely be a part of this. We can certainly make our voices heard and not just roll over and be like, whatever. They're going to get whatever they want. Because there's only one way to ensure you're going to lose, and it's having that mindset. So I agree with you, Yele, absolutely. When the differences between AI music, I just lost it, where to go, and real players is indistinguishable. I think what you meant, that's when the real will begin. Yes, that'll be really interesting. J-Mo saying the prompting will get automated too, and the power will be predictive AI. Log in for the day, and all new music is waiting for the supervisors to choose from if he knows their current projects. Possibly, absolutely. So, and this will be my last comment for today, guys, and then I got to get on with some of the stuff I got to do. Ninian, I could see AI leading to a boost in sync music quality once it becomes an accessible tool for musicians, although we would have to learn how to use it properly. Same with Splice, if that makes sense. Yes. Yeah. Again, the two sides of the equation. There's the threat. Which side's the threat? This side will be the threat. The side of the threat of tech companies just creating tools that can do our job for us faster, better, cheaper. And then there's also many companies out there that are basically creating tools to help us enhance our creativity and take care of the stuff that we don't love doing, when helping us becoming more productive and creating and focusing more on our creativity and creating higher quality output on the other end of it. So I'm excited about that side of it, but I also got to be realistic that there's going to be parts of our industry that are in jeopardy, that are in the crosshairs in the near future. So I'm going to keep my eye on this kind of stuff and keep doing it. We didn't get to the Red Lobster music. I'm not really that. You guys can go check it out if you want to. They basically released it like a mixtape. They're calling it a mixtape of these short tracks that are like, you can obviously tell they're AI created, and the lyrics are okay, I guess. Not the most amazing songs I've ever heard or whatever, but it's out there if you guys want to go check it out. So don't want to leave you guys on a downer note, but just going to be real. Right now, I am working through this alongside of all you guys. Don't have it all sorted out. No idea where the future is going to go. So what I do know, though, is this is going to be our trajectory in the next year. Is 1 week exciting news, great news, promising news. Next week, depressing news. We should just give up. Why are we even trying? It's going to be going back and forth. And maybe we'll get multiple weeks of depressing news, right? We might get week after week after week of hearing about horrible things that are not exciting and not giving us a lot of optimism for the future. So we got to start thinking about that right now. How are we going to prepare for that? What can we do? Again, focus on what we can control. We can't control all of that. The laws, the court cases, the future of this, the technology. way out of my control, any of our control. We can't control any of that kind of stuff. What can we control? Well, right now, what I do know is that I do have some influence with library owners. I do have some influence with you guys. So being smart and being educated and keeping up to date on this stuff and the consequences of it. And again, talking about making sure that we're getting consent, because if we expect them to get consent from us, we better be doing that ourselves. If we're going to start participating with AI opportunities, we better be asking for consent with the human beings that we're doing business with, right? So let's not be hypocritical that way. Let's really just focus on what we can and just be as wise and as smart, as up to date as we possibly can. And this is what I'm going to be focusing on for probably the next week or two, is what is going to be my credo. You know, Yelly has a great credo. He's kind of using, and it's working for him. I've got to create my own, and I've got a rough, loose sense of what it's going to be, but I really want to put it in form, like in an actual word form, and something I want to share with you guys. And it might not be yours, but I definitely want to serve as an example of what I'm going to be doing in the next year, so that you can see that, like, you don't have to be pushed around by all the noise and the chaos that we're definitely going to be hearing over the next couple of months and certainly years. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate your time today. Thank you for hanging out, the 27 of you that are still here. And stay tuned. Lots of great videos coming up, especially the one tomorrow. Again, watch the one tomorrow. Share it with your library owners. It's definitely going to be one you don't want to miss.